It is programming time, or something like that. Got a little too much glare on my monitor. Maybe from there. Eh. That's better. Am I a fan of Mr. Robot? I have not seen Mr. Robot. At this point, when people say a TV show is good, I just have no. I don't treat that as evidence that the TV show is good because I've heard so many people say, "Oh my God, this show is good," and I watch it and it's terrible. So I'm not saying anything about Mr. Robot being good or not. That's what I think about TV. Did I finish Celeste? No. I've not played it very far, in fact. Okay. Since the last stream, I did more gameplay implementation, built more level tests and stuff. And this whole thing about mirrors cloning guys has kept causing problems. And I realized that there were ways to simplify that and then simplify the gameplay code and have it cause fewer problems in the future. And so I just started doing that this morning, and then I said, well, why don't I stream it? So what I'm doing right now is I renamed this clone of ID variable to originating ID because it has slightly different semantics now. And I'm just going to go through and update. So it used to be clone of ID was only set if you were a clone of somebody else, and otherwise it's 0. And then, all sorts of things can happen where, you can be an original guy and the player controls you, and then you get cloned, and then your original guy gets erased, but the clone is around, but the player should still be controlling the clone. And that used to happen via annoying remappings of IDs every frame. And now we're just going to say, look, that whatever the turn order is at the start of a level, that's a fixed array of IDs, and that never changes. That change has already been made, actually. So the turn order now never changes. And then on any clone, we're just going to store a thing called originating ID, which is what your ID would be in that turn order. Maybe I should call it turn order ID instead of originating ID. I'm going to do that because that's really what it's for. And then that's always set. So even if you're not a clone, if you're an original guy, then turn order ID is set to your ID. So originating ID is turn order ID, and I'm going to change that there. I like this change. Okay, so if I'm getting clones of some guy, some ID, we just say if it turn order ID is equal to ID. Right, I mean, depends on how that's used, I guess. what is a getActiveHero really used for anyway? Seems like something that shouldn't get much use, but it probably does. Seems like everyone should consider the set of all clones. Well, whatever. Okay, so I think getActiveHero is mostly called by gameplay modes that assume there aren't clones. So we're going to say this and that. So that's simpler. So I just got to keep, so here was a renumber clones thing that used to happen. That was not necessary. All right, so nobody else in this file uses clone of ID, so I'm just going to compile to see who else uses it. Save. Post load modify. Editor post. Right, so if we load a level, this is just a function for temporary hacks, and I think that hack is old enough that we don't need it. All right. No more clone of ID in that file. Oh. Achoo! I got to get my lax bool assert going because I keep wanting to do that. Clone of ID in this file. All right. So get clones or siblings of. It's really the same. This whole function goes away because now yeah, this, I'm pretty sure that just goes away. Means in tests, where we say or siblings of, we just say get clones of. It's always good to simplify things and get rid of these weird, complicated things that nobody understands. All right, do we use clone of ID here? Only in a comment. Let's get rid of that. All right. Draw. I might need this line for later stuff, but here what I really want is the hero ID. If it.originating ID is equal to hero ID. All right, so that's fine. Looks like we don't need guy here. Oh, it's not originating ID, it's turn order ID. Remember, I changed it. All right. All right. So this is simple too. This just says e2.turnOrderID is e.turnOrderID. And we assert not equals 0. I'm going to get rid of that. Off topic, but I think it is unreasonable. Do I think it is unreasonable to think one could make a living after starting an indie game company? I mean, it all depends on who you are and what you plan to make. I don't know. Is it unreasonable to think one could make a living after starting a poetry company? Probably. Is it unreasonable to think one could make a living after starting a nanotechnology manufacturing company? Probably not unreasonable. So where are you in between that spectrum, right? Yeah, this room, PID is just an unsigned 32-bit number. It stands for Portable ID, which really means Entity ID. It's a terminology that I need to change. You were rewatching the first type-ish demo to use an entity type : type in the entity struct in Sokoban. Yes. If I go to right, entity type, right there, this is how I know what the type is of any particular entity. What is double colon syntax? It means we're declaring something. It's not really a double colon syntax. Why does Arrayad not support Verogs? Because it'll be slower and or more complicated. You could make one if you want. Okay, so if this is that, this is when we're merging guys, we have to decide which one to get rid of. All right. Okay. Now something tells me that when I start this up, I'm going to get an assert tripping that my turn order ID is not set, but we'll see. No? What about when I load a level? Load level? All right, let's try playing. Okay, let me go. So this level was one that's complicated because this involves merging guys. Oops. That worked. Let's try making a clone. Well, we saw that screwed up vertex buffer at first, but because we don't animate clones properly when we create them, is what's going on there. I think so. Like, yeah, that's on the to-do list separately. Clones animation seems to be messed up sometimes. All right. But it's also maybe just his character, because this is a super rough drafty character whose animations haven't been worked on and stuff. Well, I don't know what to do right now except for this. Just to see what happens. Oh, there we go. I just want a list of what levels fail right now. See what happens. It might be that I need to re-record some of the things now using the clone ID instead of the that might be the reason why. Okay. That's interesting because I was just playing this level last night. So this crash is due to the stuff I just did. It's probably just an assert. We were almost done with the levels anyway. It's a lot of levels. It's a lot of levels, and there's going to be like at least 100 more levels by the time we ship the game, probably, which is why I'm not so worried. But people were like, oh, is that spoilery? Okay, assertion failed, line 329. But anyway, that's just to illustrate why we build tests like that, right? Line 329. Yeah. So what's happening is, hey, look, monsters don't have a turn order ID because you can't control them, right? So I'm just going to make the note, may be 0 if this is a monster. And then we'll just go play that level again and make sure it works. There we go. Now the problem is, I don't get the failure reports now because we crashed out, or we asserted out. I remember, I think the levels that are failing are some of the same from last night. So one of the things that was causing fails is when one of your characters dies, and then you do an undo and resurrect them. And I think the reason that was causing problems is because of all the complication in the old system. And hopefully now that it's less complicated, we can re-record things with better IDs. But, oh, I should go into tests. When we write out a move, we want to make sure that we write out the turn order ID and not whatever entity we happen to have. Let's take a look at enact move. I can simulate. Enact move. Guy ID. Oh, let's simplify this. So for some reason we have no active hero. Okay. Okay, so active hero ID should always be the turn order ID. So I'm going to call get active hero down here again. Actually, let's do get clones of. Let's not return clones if they're dead. Okay. Okay, so we get all the clones. For clones, we do a thing. So we're ready here. Okay, so here we say, if any of the clones aren't ready, we buffer a move. Otherwise, wow, I'm just tearing this code apart today. Okay, wait, this is not right. Not right. You know what? This is too big of a change, actually, because I don't know what that's going to affect. So let's come back here, and we'll say if we're all dead, we're going to get it ready. And this should be it, not guy. So if something like that, I don't know, dude. Oh, we got to pass manager. So we're just making this routine more like it's made to handle n guys at once than one guy at once. Yep. That's fine. Whoops. 4 clones. This. I could have a procedure that says get guy clones that would automatically cast it, and then I wouldn't have to do this. But whatever. Okay, so this works. That's let me go to a level that starts doing something. Okay. So this makes clones. That's good. All right. It erases a clone. So that's still all working. Now I want to test the wiggling and stuff. So let's go to like Heroes 2. All right, so I'm just trying to kill this guy off. Come on. This game is so silly. Alright, if I do this, the thief will get killed. Okay, he's wiggling when I try to move him. That's good. Undo. Go. Undo. Go. Okay. Okay, so this is one of the levels that fails. I'm playing back a yeah, and it's failing because like he's not in the turn order something. Like I don't understand what's happening here. But I suspect it may be due to the weird IDs. It might just, well, No, this has got to be a different bug. This has got to be a different bug because I mean, it's just playing back inputs right now. So assuming it plays back the correct inputs, which it is, this should not be possible. So it's weird. It's just I'm switching back and forth players, and it's not recognizing them. So let's break and see what's happening. Let's open transition, because that's just a good per frame update place to break. Actually, well, let's look at manager.turnorder. It's got 3 things in it. Okay, so what do we call switch heroes in Sokoban? So we're swapping this guy for some reason. Okay, well, what could it be? Oh, we're calling get the player. That's kind of weird. All right, let's just see. Okay. So it's 2. I don't know who that is. How about guys? I bet he's not. No, he's in there. Whoa! Okay, this is just wrong. This is just wrong. How did this game even work? I mean, this is really old. This is before. Active hero index is now supposed to index the turn order. Not. Oh my God. All right. Let's just delete that routine, because anyone who calls that is wrong. Hopefully it's just this. Okay. So a long time ago, when I was first making this game, that procedure was correct. But since then, I supposedly changed this index to refer to the active hero index, right? Let me get some more iced tea, and then we'll crack on this. Okay, so we don't care about guys here. Like, all of this is goofball situation. All right. Okay, so we're wrapping active hero index around the loop. Then we find ID is manager.turnorder manager.active hero index. E is find manager ID. Well, okay. So if we loop through one time, Now we're free to continue down here since our loop termination condition is up there. If not E, continue. Guy is down. E guy. If not guy, continue. If guy dot dead, continue. Well, that's fine. And then we don't do anything with this guy pointer, right? It's just that manager active hero index is pointing to the right value at the end. So who else called get the player? I still need to fix that bug. Several places. Update signs. So I could just get all the clones and loop over them here, but the problem is we're going to pop up sign text like on top of each other, so it requires more thought. All right. Let's just see what happens if we go back to that level. Which one was it? July 22. He's still not. Wow, okay. Well, let's do this break there again. I've got to attach the process. Okay. Active hero index. ID, E. Do we have an entity? Yes. Is it a guy? Yes. Let's see what the mesh name is. Thief. So we're trying to switch to the thief right now. Is he dead? He is marked as dead. That's what's going on. So somehow undo is not marking him as not dead. Or undo is marking him as not dead. And then he's getting remarked as dead after the undo. Okay. Well, it's definitely a bug. And I don't think that it's a recording bug, right? It's a game bug. So that's good. It's why we have recording and playback, to find these things. I'm just going to play back slowly And I want to see if I can tell when this happens. We might add like, so I'm turning the time rate down, right? So if I move, we're going real slow. But the playback itself is like an 8 times speed. So when I play it, here, the guy is running over. The animation is always a little gimped during the playback because of the wind, but you know. I could actually fix that by setting buffered move. Actually, I could. Holy cow. Playback uses manager dot buffered moves for better animation. That'll be good. For some reason, that hadn't occurred to my brain. Okay, he dies. He's back up. Okay, he's not selected right now. We got to see if he gets bright before he moves again. Yes. I mean, I guess that's not necessarily. Wait, no, you went the wrong way. Oh, this is where I killed him on purpose, I guess. Whoa. Okay. So something happened there. And then he went into the turning animations, right? So something happened where he moved while he was dead. Somehow. That might be a playback bug, actually. Yeah, I'm thinking it is just a playback bug, actually. So one thing that I can do that I probably should do next, and I'm about to leave, so I probably won't do it now, or I could start doing it maybe, is I can start adding more information to the recording that helps you identify exactly when it goes wrong. So right now, if the recording goes wrong, the way we know that is that the level just fails, right? Like we got through all the moves and we didn't win the level. That's fine, but we could be a lot more robust. We could say, hey, every frame, we're going to take some kind of simple checksum of the game state. And it doesn't even need to be that complicated. It could just be take the positions of all the characters and the monsters and hash them together, right? And whether they're alive or not, I don't know, something like that. Some simple hash that probably doesn't encompass everything, but it doesn't need to. And certainly you want that hash not to be sensitive to random visual elements. Like we want to be able to edit the decorative elements of a game level and not affect it. So anyway, you compute that hash every frame and you store it on the thing, on the recording, and you store it on the save game. And then in fact, in that way, you would also know when a recording expired because the level changed. Because if the first hash is wrong, then you're like, well, buddy, this is not a good test anymore, right? So one thing I can do, I'm going to write this down. Recording hash. And the other thing I can do is just try to debug this directly. Now the thing is, if I'm going to do a recording hash, one of the other values that would be in there is here's how many levels of undo are in the undo stack, right? Because I feel like that's what's desyncing here. There's some weirdness about undo a little bit, and I'm probably interfacing with it slightly differently. So I think I want that. Well, let's just start doing both those things. And then what I'll do is I'll re-record all the hashes that fail. And I don't want to re-record all of them. So what we'll do, remember when I made the file format, I put a version number on it. So we just know it's on version 1 right now, or maybe it's on version 2, I don't remember. I think it's on version 1. And if we're on version 1, then we don't have this hash and undo depth available, but otherwise we do. All right. So and I'm not going to be able to do all of this right now because I'm going somewhere in like 12 minutes. But we'll start on it and then we'll finish it up later. Oh, let me check in what I've done so far, though. Always check in before a major change. Yeah, we had too many problems with the 4K streaming, so we're down to 1080 now. All right. So we will go. So there's several things we're going to want to do. So first of all, in tests here, we do this file handler and stuff, and we're going to say result.version is handler.version. Is it called version? Version. All right. So we're going to copy the version onto our own data structure so that after we've thrown away the text file handler, we still have it. When we save it out, so we're now saving version 3, and so we're saving out the ID. Before we save out the ID, we're going to save out the undo depth and the gameplay hash in base 16. All right, so what are those things? Well, they're going to be just on there. Right, so these are something called test move that we made, and gameplay hash. How big? I guess we'll make it a U64. I don't know. And undo depth is going to be int. So now, when we add a test move, all right. Fill hash and depth on tmove. Right, boom, go. All right. Well, so we need to pass this to all these. So fill hash and depth. Well, undo depth should be easy to find. Manager.undo handler dot undo records dot count. And gameplay hash is get gameplay hash manager. What is the gameplay hash? That's a good question. Well, the thing is, we want to guess it well at first, because the problem is every time we change the gameplay hash, we have to change the file version, or we have to make a separate hash version or something like that. For now, we'll suffer with changing the file version. If we have to do that too much, then we'll do otherwise. All right. So before we do that, I don't want to forget to add these things. So if if just make a version, right? Because we just want that local. If version is greater than 2, then we know that we have a gameplay hash and an undo depth, right? hash line found is consume next line handler. See, this here used to be like, oh, it's the first line, but now it's not the first line. You know what? Let's leave the ID being the first line because it'll be simpler for now. And we'll do the hash line. I don't remember break by spaces arguments. Hash line found is consume next line. If we didn't find a line here, we won't find one later. Okay. So let's look up break by spaces. Really? Someone changed my break by spaces to something else. Split. This is a problem. I don't think I want a full split. I just want this is what happens. Oh, I do have break by spaces. It's just not there. Okay, break by spaces, hash line. All right, so well, move.undo depth, undo depth, undo success to integer to float. Is it in here? Yeah, string to float, string to int. I have two things here. I have an A to I. Now, I'm going to want a string to int base 16, by the way. undo depth, undo success, colon equals string to int left and hash depth past success is string to int base 16, right? Maybe that's not how we'll do it. Report an error if we don't get these. Unable to read undo depth on hash. Okay. So move.undo depth equals undo depth. Hash. So we just haven't, we need this base 16 and we need to define get gameplay hash before we can do anything else. And it's time for me to go. I guess I'm in the mood to stream much later today. I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon. We'll finish this up. Yeah, so then once this is in, then we still won't have debugged that actual gameplay problem. In fact, we may not be able to debug the gameplay problem with the same recordings. But what I can do is record new recordings with the hash mechanism in there, and then we'll see if they tell us which thing is wrong first. The undo depth. I suspect it's the undo depth, but it'll be good to see that. And it'll also, like, before we even get to debugging that, it may be that we have something basic wrong in the first place. Like, maybe the undo depth is just off by 1 at all times, and we never noticed, for example. That could easily be happening. So that'll help us straighten out and be more more strict about making sure that our replay system is doing the right thing. Have I considered building a feature into the compiler to give me a nice overview of my refactoring tags? Not into the compiler, but you know, you could easily make a tool that searches your comments for that. I mean, you know, you could make a tool that searches the comments for anything starting with an @ sign, right? That wouldn't be too hard. So, yeah. Yeah, all right, I'll see you all later, and we'll finish this up in a bit.